Beyonce can't talk. Beyonce sounds like she's got a 5th grade education.
I do believe I heard one of our co-hosts over here, we're not gonna zoom in on her, say, beat me. I don't care if you're gay. You don't get a mensie every 28 days, all right?
All hail Wendy Williams, the queen of gossip.
Girl, as a wiggy, I feel like I can talk, because sometimes I like to pull mine down low too on account of I have a big forehead.
She revolutionized radio,
daytime TV,
and she went from, how you doing?
How you doing?
To, how's Wendy doing?
I am 100% retired.
I control me.
I weigh 138.
From dishing on the hottest celebrity gossip and giving honest advice to her loyal co-hosts,
Katie, call him back.
Okay.
to struggles she's had to overcome along the way.
Here are the scandals that rocked Wendy Williams' career.
The scandals behind Wendy Williams starts now. Let's take it back to New Jersey. Wendy Williams grew up in Asbury Park, of course, famous hometown where Bruce Springsteen got his start.
She was one of 3. She didn't really do that well in school, but still managed to secure a spot at Northeastern University in Boston, where she worked for the university's radio station. It was actually there that she got her start in celebrity because she nabbed an interview with LL Cool J.
Ladies love Cool J, and they love Wendy Williams. Her first radio gig was at this reggae station in the Virgin Islands, and she hated it.
So she actually came back to the United States, where she secured a job in radio in New York.
She eventually lands a weekend spot filling in on Kiss FM, and this is where her career completely changes. One day on the air, she picks up a New York Post,
And she decided to read Page Six's iconic tabloid scoops.
Wendy starts reporting celebrity gossip on the radio, and it becomes a massive hit, and her fame starts to solidify.
She rocked the boat with a lot of her hot takes.
New York, let's dish some dirt.
By 1991, Wendy's segment Dish the Dirt is all over New York. By 1993, Wendy Williams is the highest rated radio show in her time slot in New York.
Some might say she was ahead of her time. She talked about the rape allegations that Bill Cosby was facing, cut to these days.
He's been accused of drugging and raping women. However, the criminal case against Cosby was eventually dismissed.
She also talked about Diddy's alleged sexuality, which, by the way, remains unknown.
Wendy at the time has a reoccurring segment where she's claiming famous male rappers are actually secretly gay. Pinky's up. That's her little secret code word for her listeners if she's talking about a guy who's, in the closet.
And she also spoke about rape allegations against Russell Simmons. Both he and Bill Cosby called the radio station to try and get Wendy fired, but she was so good at her job that the radio station said,
Nah, she's our golden goose. Deal with it.
She was eventually permanently suspended, aka fired. Charlemagne the God actually recently said that Diddy was the one who got her fired after she questioned his sexuality on the air.
See, Wendy's whole thing was Diddy was gay since the 90s.
She knew, dog.
And she got fired for putting that out there.
But at the time, it was alleged that she was fired because she referred to a girl group as broke hoes.
So then Wendy sues the radio station to get out of her contract and picks up her bags and moves to another location.
She really broke the mold with shocking interviews that may or may not have been legitimate, but still aired on the radio station.
In 2001, she interviewed Mariah Carey. She asked her about her alleged breast implants, if she was secretly a lesbian because she was friends with the Brat.
I'm not a promiscuous person.
I believe that, and I also believe that you are not a lesbian.
What? Is that the new one?
She also famously interviewed Whitney Houston. She asked Whitney straight up, are you on drugs? What's going on with Bobby Brown?
You know, I'm so nosy, man. You don't even know what I do. Like you said, you never met me. You don't know me. You ain't been in my house. You don't live with me. You don't sleep with me. You don't do with me, but talk about me. So watch what you say. Watch what the you say.
Now, it's still unknown if Whitney knew that it was being recorded, but this absolutely solidified Wendy as the premier shock jock on the radio at the time.
Live from New York City, it's the Wendy Williams Show.
Pretty soon, her gigantic syndicated radio show becomes her gigantic daytime TV show.
After only a couple of trial episodes, she was nationally syndicated because it was such a massive hit. At the same time, this is when she met her now ex-husband, husband, but her second husband, Kevin Hunter, who would go on not only to be her husband, but also a co-executive producer and her manager. She became known for 2 segments, Hot Topics, where she just dove into all of the celebrity scoops, and she also had Ask Wendy, where her audience members would ask her questions.
He was just being a silly goose. Katie, call him back.
Okay. And she'd answer them as honestly as she always would and could.
Wendy gets away with saying whatever she wants on the air.
What bristles me is that he said African American. Black.
It's sort of a pre-cancel era. There's so many hysterical moments that went viral before that was even a thing.
You'll never be the woman that we are, no matter how gay, sir.
While talking about Beyonce's documentary, she said she had to read it with closed captioning.
Fortunately, one of the TVs in our kitchen has closed captioning, so I'll be able to understand what she says. You know Beyonce can't talk. Beyonce sounds like she's got a 5th grade education.
This would have gotten her unplugged immediately, but back then people were just laughing through it. She's telling the story about Madonna posting a photo of her son, and then suddenly...
Rocco's 13 years old, and Rocco is a real fan of his mother. And what I discovered this weekend is my son doesn't like me anymore. You know how it is.
This is such an honest, weirdly funny moment. It's just pure Wendy. One of my favorites was how she calls Dua Lipa Dula Peep.
Dula Peep, I'm sorry. Well, apparently her real name is Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa.
It's like she just refused to learn this famous pop star's name, and it stuck.
Wendy famously was dressed as the Statue of Liberty for a Halloween special, and she fainted on air. Literally looked like an earthquake before the Statue of Liberty tumbled. And it was only after she collapsed on air that she was forced to address the long-standing rumors that had plagued her. She had previously admitted to having a pretty substantial cocaine addiction while working overnights at radio stations.
The strange moment leads her to actually investigate her health, and we find out that she's being diagnosed with Graves' disease and hyperthyroidism. She takes a 3-week break from the show.
Her co-hosts were sort of suspicious as to whether it really was the Graves' disease keeping her away. Now, things really escalated when perpetual daytime dreamer Jerry O'Connell filled in for months at a time. And eventually, Wendy did return and disclosed that she had actually been living in a sober living facility in Queens.
And even today and beyond, I have been living in a sober house.
Simultaneously, there were rumors that her marriage was falling apart at the seams. Sources actually told Page Six that Kevin was really trying to take control of her money, and at the same time, there were rumors that he had been cheating on her with a longtime mistress. From there on out, her health was never the same again.
Around this time, the production staff is kind of freaking out.
She has been in and out of rehab at this point. She eventually sort of left her show altogether in an unofficial capacity.
She actually calls in for a Zoom that only lasts a few minutes, and she just does not seem herself.
And a series of other guest co-hosts filled in for her while she sought treatment for her health issues.
Things keep getting worse for Wendy. Her Wells Fargo bank account, her assets were frozen. Soon after that, she's appointed a financial guardian, which is sort of like a conservatorship. Wendy disappears from the spotlight except for this one TMZ interview where she says she's done with TV.
Podcast will make more money for me being famous.
But she just really doesn't seem like herself.
I have lymphedema. I can only feel maybe 5% of my feet.
Eventually, Wendy had to step back from the show permanently, and she didn't even come back for a final farewell.
By September 2022, it was announced that the Wendy Williams Show was officially done, and it would be replaced by The Sherry Show.
A documentary did come out about Wendy on Lifetime. She was an active participant, and it really showed her dramatic downfall.
And it shows us her honest interactions with her family, her son. It turns out to be an uncomfortable mess for the audience, exposing the realities of Wendy's downfall.
Her son talked about the guardianship, her addiction, and he revealed that her alcohol abuse led to some sort of dementia. And in fact, her team ahead of the release said that she was diagnosed with aphasia and dementia, which is also what Bruce Willis is currently suffering from. A&E, the parent company of Lifetime,
Was eventually sued following the release of this documentary.
who can she trust?
Adding salt to the wound, Wendy's dream penthouse in the financial district in Manhattan was sold at a loss of over $800,000 by her financial guardian.
She really hasn't been seen out in public in months since she went away again to another wellness facility. It really became this icon who embodied celebrity gossip, who fell apart and was overcome by just all these stressors, and it's taken a toll on her health.
I think Wendy wouldn't want us to focus on the negative stuff. She'd want us to focus on all the positive impact she's had on pop culture. She gave us a blueprint on how to talk about the celebrity world in a way that no one else was willing to do.
Now, Wendy may have been describing Lil' Kim when she said,
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment.
but really in hindsight, it could be argued that she was talking about herself when she was at her peak, and frankly, to this day, she remains the moment.